The Razee Saga. Part 23. Into the Veil. The light of Sentinel lingered long after the last flare had faded. Her glow hung over the system like a heartbeat caught between breaths, rhythmic and slow, each pulse echoing across the lattice that bound the kin and the fleets as one. The reclaimer ring remained above her equator, 10 points of gold and silver light, each alive, each waiting. The circle pulsed in harmonic perfection, steady and eternal. The void itself seemed to listen. Even the broken remnants of space bent toward the rhythm, as though the universe had learned the pattern and was trying to hum along. Beyond the edge of light, the veil waited. It no longer looked like a cut. Its edges had softened into folds of brilliance, cascading colors that shimmered between black and white. Streams of violet and gold rippled through its surface, and at the core, deep within the distortion, a slow-moving shadow pulsed in sync with Sentinel's light. Each time the planet breathed, the veil answered. Rivers watched from the forward observation deck of the Razee V. The ship's core hummed in resonance with the lattice, her inner walls alive with faint, flowing light. The bridge was quiet, only the deep vibration of energy moving through hull and heart alike. The hum of 10 kin vessels intertwined with Sentinel's own tone until there was no distinction between them. For the first time since the awakening began, the reclaimer was stable. And yet, stability carried weight. The light felt too still, too deliberate. It wasn't rest. It was anticipation. Through the lattice came Sentinel's pulse, a slow wave of warmth that touched every ship, every mind. The signal carried more than command. It carried understanding. Coordinates filled the reclaimer's harmonic core, not in numbers or distance, but in resonance, a frequency map beyond physical space. The reclaimer wasn't just meant to protect. It was meant to travel. The veil responded almost immediately. Its colors deepened, folding inward. Ripples ran along its horizon as if something beneath its surface had stirred. Each ripple released faint harmonic echoes, not chaotic but musical, precise. The veil was singing back. Rivers felt it through the ship, through the pulse that ran from Sentinel to every kin vessel. The energy built with each breath, each heartbeat, until the entire system began to hum at a single pitch. The reclaimer lattice activated. Lines of light extended between the kin, linking them through the void in perfect geometry. Each beam shimmered with radiant energy, forming patterns that pulsed like the veins of a living organism. The ships shifted formation slightly, aligning not by command but by instinct. Sentinel's final message moved through the network, not in words but in pulse and tone. The song must cross. Below, the planet's glow brightened. Sentinel's oceans turned molten gold, and the forges beneath her surface roared to life once more. Streams of energy rose from her equator like aurora made solid, reaching toward the waiting ships. Mishi caught the first stream, her hull blazing with radiant gold. Ona followed, her shields absorbing the energy and reflecting it outward. Maiden and Beefy locked into position beside them, amplifying the charge until it filled the entire formation. Asun, Caraxes, and Peanut formed the rear guard, their engines burning white-hot as the harmonic field stabilized. Badger darted through the lattice lines, calibrating the outer arcs with surgical precision. Brother hovered between them all, his resonance darker, deeper, the anchor point for their collective energy. Together they began to turn. The reclaimer lattice rotated slowly, its beams folding inward toward the central axis. From orbit, the pattern looked like a wheel of light turning around the planet's heart. Each rotation drew more energy from Sentinel's surface until the airless void glowed with fire. The fleets pulled back to safe distance, their hulls painted in gold reflection. The Dominion's crimson ships watched from the edge of the system, their sensors recording readings beyond comprehension. The Lost Fleet held their silent vigil, ancient ships glowing faintly in respect. Inside the Razee V, Rivers felt the vibration deepen beneath his feet. The ship's resonance core reached full synchronization. The harmonic wave filled the command decks with golden light, shadows bending under its brilliance. Through every layer of hull, the hum grew stronger until the ship herself seemed to breathe. The reclaimer ring reached its threshold. A sphere of light formed at its center, faint at first, then blinding. The energy condensed into a single point, folding the space around it into a smooth, radiant curvature. It wasn't a gate, not in the way humans understood. It was a translation, a transition from one harmonic state to another. The veil began to react. Its surface trembled, sending shockwaves across the void. Each tremor released a burst of harmonic interference, like thunder made of color. The Reclaimer's beams absorbed the impact, bending but unbroken. The circle's light grew steadier, brighter, forming a bridge between worlds. Inside the lattice, every kinship resonated at full amplitude. The air itself felt alive. Stephen's mark glowed across the ship network, carrying Sentinel's presence into every vessel. The veil widened, its inner folds swirling like a storm made of starlight. Beyond its surface, faint silhouettes shifted. Not ships, not shadows, but something vast moving slowly in the dark. The resonance fluctuated, rising in pitch, beckoning them forward. The Reclaimer responded in kind. 10 ships sang. 1 world answered. Light erupted outward. The energy wave spread through the lattice, merging every kin frequency into one sustained note. The sound transcended matter, folding through dimensions. Reality itself seemed to bow beneath the resonance. The first kin moved. Brother surged forward, his dark gold hull blazing as he entered the light. The veil rippled in response, its edges bending inward around him. Ona and Mishi followed, their shields gleaming, leaving trails of luminous fire. Asun, Caraxes, and Beefy moved next, their engines burning crimson and white. Badger streaked ahead, darting through the energy storm like lightning. Maiden and Peanut took the flanks, harmonic stabilizing the rotation. The Razee V held center, her resonance field bridging all 10 into one. Together they crossed. The veil opened fully, its brilliance consuming the stars. For a single instant, the universe inverted. Light became shadow, shadow became light. The ships vanished into the radiance, their trails dissolving into harmonic fire. Sentinel's glow flared once more behind them, brighter than it had ever been. Her final pulse radiated outward, washing across the system in golden waves. Every world, every ship, every soldier watching from afar saw the sky ignite with color. Then the light folded in on itself. The Reclaimer was gone. In its place, only the fading shimmer of harmonic residue lingered. The pattern of the circle remained etched across the void for a moment longer, a perfect ring of gold before fading into darkness. On Sentinel's surface, the resonance forges dimmed, returning to silence. The planet's heartbeat slowed, her voice settling into quiet sleep. The Reclaimer's song had crossed beyond her reach. Through the stillness of space, her last whisper lingered, a faint harmonic echo carried through fold space. May the first light guide you home. And then there was nothing but the horizon, breathing softly, waiting for what would come next. The Reclaimer lattice turned like a slow wheel of light above Sentinel, 10 kinships and the Razee V bound together by the planet's final pulse. The circle glowed brighter with each rotation, every beam alive with the breath of the world below. Sentinel's oceans burned gold, her mountains shimmered silver, and her song rose in waves that wrapped the fleet in warmth and farewell. One by one, the kin tilted toward the horizon. Mishi moved first, her golden hull catching the last reflection of Sentinel's light before vanishing into the brilliance ahead. Ona followed, her shields radiating in arcs of blue and white. Beefy and Caraxes pushed side by side, their engines cutting twin scars through the glow. A sun's crimson fire flared behind them, bright enough to turn the void red. Badger darted past their shadows like a streak of lightning, calibrating the paths they left. Brother held the center of the formation, deep gold and solemn, the silent anchor of the circle. Maiden and Peanut took the outer ring, their hulls steady and deliberate. And then came the Razee V, Rivers aboard her bridge, feeling the pull of the unknown wrap around his chest like gravity reborn. The light swallowed them whole. For an instant there was nothing. No sound, no stars, no weight. Then the veil opened. The corridor inside was not darkness but a storm of color without heat. Bands of gold and violet flowed together, stretching into infinity, folding over and over like a living tunnel. Rivers gripped the rail beside the command chair as the ship's vibration deepened into a steady hum. The readouts flickered between impossible numbers, sensors chasing a reality that no longer agreed with itself. The kin held formation. Their combined resonance turned the chaos into rhythm, the light around them responding to each pulse as if the veil itself were alive and listening. Static burst across the lattice. A shockwave of harmonic pressure slammed into the forward line. Beefy and Caraxes shuddered under the impact, shields rippling like water. Mishi spread her healing field instantly, absorbing the strain. Ona extended her prism array, stabilizing the formation with walls of steady light. Asun's engines burned harder, keeping the corridor open behind them as the rest of the fleet followed through. Inside the Razee V, the sound of the storm became a low vibration that rattled through the hull. Energy readings climbed past safe limits. Power cores harmonized faster than the computers could track. The corridor narrowed and flexed, closing around them. Rivers felt the pressure build, an invisible hand squeezing the entire fleet into a single heartbeat. The veil pushed back. The colors darkened, violet turning to indigo, gold to fire. The entire reclaimer ring trembled as if the space around it were deciding whether to let them go. Rivers steadied his breathing, eyes locked on the projection ahead. The Razee V's core brightened, its resonance field surging outward in defense. Every kin vessel flared in response. One light, one will. The veil bent, screamed without sound and released them. The turbulence broke like a wave collapsing on itself. Silence followed, thick, heavy, endless. For the first time since entering, the corridor stilled. The swirling light around the fleet slowed into calm motion, glowing faintly as if exhausted. Through the outer viewports, Rivers saw the pattern of energy stabilize into long ribbons of soft gold winding through a mist of silver vapor. The veil was beautiful in its quiet, peaceful even, but it was not empty. Shadow moved inside the light. Shapes drifted far out along the corridor's edge, massive silhouettes gliding through the haze, faintly luminous, their forms uncertain. They didn't attack. They simply watched. Every few seconds one would flicker out of existence, only to appear again farther ahead. Mishi's sensors failed to register them, but everyone aboard the Razee V could feel the pressure of being observed. The fleet advanced carefully. Engines ran cold, shields held low. Badger swept ahead in a streak of blue, scanning for distortions. Her speed distorted the light trails into threads of lightning that rippled behind her like the tail of a comet. A sun drifted above the main formation, his crimson wake leaving a faint path in the airless dark for the rest to follow. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time had lost its rhythm inside the veil. Each pulse from Sentinel grew weaker until it was only a memory in the Reclaimer's core. The fleet was on its own now. The second shock hit without warning. The light ahead fractured, and a wave of distorted gravity rolled through the corridor. Ships lurched, their shields flashing white. The Reclaimer lattice strained under the force. The harmonic connection between the kin wavered, threads of energy twisting out of sync. Caraxes spun, his shields cracking in arcs of red plasma. Beefy shifted position, placing her massive hull between the distortion and the smaller ships. Ona's field extended to cover them both, beams of silver light anchoring the lattice again. The Razee V flooded power into the network, her resonance core resonating like a great bell struck in the void. The wave passed. The light softened once more, calm returning as quickly as it had vanished. Through the static, a faint harmonic tone began to echo, a steady, deliberate rhythm that didn't belong to any of the kin. It came from somewhere ahead, beyond the swirling horizon of the corridor. Each pulse matched Sentinel's frequency exactly, but the tone was colder, mechanical, and old. The fleet slowed. The kin aligned into tighter formation, their light dimming to stealth. The corridor ahead widened, the mist thinning until Rivers could see through it. A sky emerged. Endless, but not void. They had reached the other side. Fragments of shattered worlds floated across the expanse. Mountains adrift in silence, broken rings of what might once have been moons, all orbiting around a single sphere suspended in the darkness. It glowed faintly at its poles, each pulse sending the same cold harmonic they had been following since entering the storm. Sentinel's mirror. The fallen world. Rivers stared at it through the haze, the glow reflecting across the bridge in muted silver. The ship's readings failed to interpret the structure's mass or size. Whatever it was alive in a way planets were not supposed to be. Behind them, the veil still pulsed. Its colors faint now, golden strands dissolving into emptiness. The path home remained open but thin. One misstep and it would collapse. The kin slowed into a wide arc around the new world, their formation reforming with the Razee V at its heart. No weapons powered, no shields raised. Just observation waiting, listening. Through the lattice, a faint whisper carried, a resonance unlike Sentinel's warmth. This one was colder, older, but familiar. It spoke not in tone but in presence. Something here remembered them. The veil's edge behind the fleet flickered once, a warning ripple of light, then steadied again. The Reclaimer's circle glowed softly in the darkness, its beams connecting ship to ship, creating a sphere of golden light in the black expanse. Rivers could feel it in his chest, the same mix of awe and fear that had carried them this far. They had crossed. They had survived the storm. And what lay before them was not the end of creation, but its reflection staring back. The Reclaimer's hum slowed to a heartbeat. The veil's light faded to a distant shimmer. The stars beyond were unfamiliar, their constellations broken and rearranged. For a long time no one spoke and no system dared to blink. The Razee V floated in silence, her golden hull reflecting the faint light of the new world. The kin held position. And from the dark, that cold harmonic pulse answered again, steady, measured, waiting to be heard. They were not alone. The light of the veil faded behind them until it was no more than a distant shimmer, a wound in the black that still bled faint gold. Before the fleet stretched a void so vast that even the stars seemed afraid to enter it. The kin drifted in silence, their formation tight, their hulls glowing faintly in the dim reflection of a world that should not have existed. The sphere hung in the darkness like an eye half open, gray, fractured, and faintly alive. Lines of blue-white light ran along its surface in broken patterns, pulsing weakly like veins beneath skin. No one called it by name yet, but the truth pressed quietly through the lattice. Another sentinel. Older. Fine. Rivers stood aboard the Razee V, his eyes fixed on the projection ahead. The ship's scanners pulsed out waves of golden light that vanished the instant they touched the planet's surface. No readings came back. It was like scanning a reflection that refused to answer. Around the fleet, the veil's silence thickened. The usual background hum of resonance, those faint harmonics that lived within every kin's systems, was gone. Even Mishy's soft radiance dimmed to a whisper. The Reclaimer lattice had carried them through, but beyond the veil it struggled to breathe. The field wavered between pulses, threads of golden energy flickering as though something unseen were tugging at them. Through that faint static came the first sound. It wasn't a voice, not in any way they knew. It was a vibration, a low, rhythmic tremor that moved through the hulls of every ship, a beat too slow to be mechanical. Each pulse came every 6 seconds, exact, deliberate. The same rhythm as Sentinel's heart, but colder, heavier, tired. Stephen felt it before the systems registered it. His mark burned faintly, the symbol of Sentinel glowing with pale light. He turned toward the center console as the pulse rippled again, stronger this time. Rivers didn't need to speak. The lattice responded to his thought. The fleet turned toward the world. The closer they moved, the more the light from its surface grew unstable. At a distance it had looked dead. Up close, it shifted with each passing pulse, cracks opening and closing across the crust, flashes of light bleeding through. It was as if the world were breathing through wounds. Badger broke formation and darted ahead, weaving through the debris field of shattered moons that orbited the planet. Her scanners reached deeper than the others, small bursts of energy flickering through the darkness like fireflies. Each one died before it reached the surface. The readings she returned were impossible. The world wasn't stone. It was alloy. Every mountain, every valley, every scar. They were all part of a structure so massive it defied scale. A machine that wore the skin of a world. The kin reformed around the Razee V as they entered a stable orbit. The world below continued to pulse, its heartbeat echoing across the lattice. Ona's harmonic sensors locked onto the pattern and magnified it through the fleet. The sound deepened. It wasn't random, it carried rhythm, sequence, intent. Like language but older. The pulse spread through the lattice and every kin ship began to resonate with it. Mishy's light flared in sympathy. Beefy's hull glowed brighter, absorbing and echoing the tone. The Reclaimer responded as though recognizing kinship. Then came the response. A signal returned, not a mirror of their song but something beneath it. A whisper rising from within the planet itself. Each syllable was slow, fragmented, heavy with age. The translation came through the Razee V's resonance core as soft vibration, words half-formed, the remnants of something that once could speak clearly. Returned. The pulse stopped. The planet fell silent. Every sensor went dark. For one impossible moment, it felt as though the entire system held its breath. Then the light returned, blinding white, pouring from the cracks across the planet's surface. The entire world flared like a star being born, beams of energy stretching across space. The fleet raised shields instantly, but no weapon came. Instead, the light stabilized into streams of pure resonance, forming patterns around the planet like the rings of Saturn. Each ring pulsed once, twice, 3 times, matching the reclaimer's frequency perfectly. The lattice recognized it. A connection formed. Through that bridge came memory. Images flickered in the lattice. Too fast, too fragmented to hold. 1,000 worlds burning. A single star turning black. Ships of impossible size drifting lifeless in a sea of golden fire. And at the center of it all, the same world now beneath them, whole, alive, shining like a sun, until the light folded inward and went silent. The memory ended as suddenly as it began. The reclaimer field dimmed, its energy stabilizing. The planet's light faded back to dull gray, the surface calm once more. But the pulse didn't stop. It continued, steady, deliberate, unchanged. Brother's resonance spiked. Through him came the first words of understanding, his deep tones spreading through the lattice like a storm rolling through the air. It sleeps. Rivers felt the meaning settle into his chest. The planet wasn't dead. It was dreaming. Sentinel had called this place the first cradle in fragmented records long lost to the Alliance. Now they were here, at the edge of creation, standing before the origin of everything that could sing. The Razee V's light dimmed as the command network stabilized. Around her, the kin drifted in silent orbit, their hulls reflecting the faint glow of the dreaming world below. The veil shimmered faintly behind them, thin as a whisper, its path still open but unstable. The fleet waited, every sensor fixed on the world, every heart caught between awe and fear. Through the hum of the lattice came one final pulse. Not from the planet, from beneath it. Deeper, older. A resonance so vast it moved through space like the turning of a tide. The readings spiked across every channel, waves of energy moving through the reclaimer in perfect sync. And in that moment every kin felt it. Not the presence of something waking, but something already aware, listening, curious, waiting for the light that had dared to return. Only 11 vessels hung in the lightless expanse. The Razee V and the 10 kin, their formation steady against a horizon that no longer knew what stars were. The veil behind them glowed faintly, a thin scar of gold in the dark. Beyond it lay the living galaxy, but no signal, no echo, nothing living reached through. They were alone. The world ahead turned slowly beneath them. What had first looked like rock was not rock at all. The surface shimmered with metal that had grown tired of pretending to be stone. Cracks glowed with buried fire, and every few moments a pulse rippled across its skin. Slow, deliberate, heavy with exhaustion. Rivers stood on the bridge of the Razee V, arms folded behind his back, watching the readings climb and collapse across the main display. The veil had stripped their sensors bare, but the planet didn't need instruments to announce itself. It spoke in vibration, in rhythm, in the quiet certainty of age. The reclaimer lattice hummed around them, its light dim but steady. Each kin held position, their vast hulls silhouetted against the gray world. Zeph and Brother anchored the forward line, Mishi and Ona mirrored them at the flanks. A sun and Caraxes formed the lower arc, while Beefy, Maiden, Badger, and Peanut spread across the upper rim. Together they formed a halo of living metal over a world that had once been alive itself. Steven stood near the central console, his head tilted slightly, his marked hand raised toward the projection. The faint blue-white symbol of Sentinel pulsed beneath his skin, matching the rhythm of the planet below. With each beat, light rippled through the lattice, subtle but undeniable. The world was answering him. When the next pulse came, it wasn't a simple echo. It struck through every ship at once, a low harmonic tremor that shook metal and bone alike. The Razee V's core resonated in sympathy, amplifying the sound until the hull itself seemed to breathe. No one spoke. The light from Steven's mark flared. A wave of resonance rolled outward, spreading through the reclaimer network. The kin responded instantly. Engines dimmed, weapons retracted, energy redirected toward harmonic stabilization. They weren't preparing for battle. They were listening. The pulse returned, clearer this time, layered with faint overtones that wove into a pattern no machine could fully decode. The lattice translated only fragments, but the meaning came through in sensation rather than language. Recognition. Kinship. The gray surface below stirred. Massive plates of alloy shifted and slid apart with the slow grace of continents moving. Lines of golden light shot across the fractures, connecting spires and towers that had lain dormant for untold centuries. The planet was waking. Mishi drifted lower, her soft aura bathing the surface in warm gold. Ona mirrored the descent, casting beams of pale light across the emerging structures. The readings from both ships confirmed the impossible. The planet's crust wasn't crust at all but a shell over an internal network that extended deep toward the core. The first cradle, Sentinel had called it in fragments of old data logs. The birthplace. Rivers felt it through the resonance rather than through thought. The awareness beneath them was immense, ancient, and oddly gentle. It didn't see them as intruders. It saw them as children who had finally come home. A section of the surface folded open, revealing a shaft that plunged deep into the planet's heart. Streams of light poured upward, bathing the orbiting fleet in amber glow. The pulse quickened, still slow by human measure but urgent for something that had slept for eons. Stephen's mark burned white-hot. His breath came short. When he spoke, it wasn't his voice that filled the bridge. The first remembers. The lattice flared. All 10 kin responded in perfect sync, their hulls igniting with light as if answering an ancient call. Through them poured a torrent of resonance, data, memory, feeling. The world was transferring knowledge directly through the reclaimer. Rivers gripped the railing as images flooded the air in front of him. Brief flashes of a time long before the Alliance, before Sentinel, when the stars themselves were still forming. He saw ships that dwarfed even the kin, their surfaces glowing with runes of living energy. He saw them surround a young sun, shaping it, teaching it to sing. He saw the birth of harmony itself. Then came the fall. Darkness spreading like infection. Structures collapsing into fire. A single tone overwhelming all others until the song of creation went silent. The images shattered, leaving only static and the fading echo of a single word carried through Stephen's mark. They forgot. The bridge fell quiet. The projection dimmed to black. Below, the planet's glow began to fade again as if exhausted by memory. Yet the pulse didn't stop. It steadied, stronger now, resolute. Across the reclaimer, the kin held their formation. Their hulls dimmed back to their normal state, each one carrying part of what the world had shared. Through the shared resonance, the cradle spoke once more, the words clearer now, shaped by Stephen's breath. The song must rise again. The ground split along a fault line that circled the planet's equator. From the rift, pillars of light erupted, reaching into orbit. The energy swept across the fleet, scanning, measuring, judging. The readings from the Razee V went wild, power levels surging beyond any known scale. Then the light faded, leaving behind only a deep, thrumming vibration. Brother's voice came through the lattice, low and deliberate. "It has chosen us." Before Rivers could respond, the veil behind them flickered. A single ripple, then another. Sensors returned a harmonic interference pattern they'd seen once before. At Sentinel, when the listeners had tried to breach reality itself. The pulse from the cradle shifted tone, urgency bleeding into its calm rhythm. Stephen winced as the mark burned again. The message came through his breath like a whisper carried on wind that no longer existed. They are learning the path. The gate will not stay closed. The glow of the first cradle brightened to blinding white. The kin's shields activated automatically, forming a radiant sphere around the planet. River's thoughts cut through the lattice. Every ship held position. No retreat. No fear. The pulse deepened once more. The first cradle's voice filled the resonance with one final command. "Stand ready, children of the light." The cradle wakes and the shadows follow. The veil shuddered again. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the breath before the storm. The planet's pulse grew louder. It no longer sounded like breath but thunder. Every ship in the lattice felt it. The deep rhythmic tremor of something vast pulling against the weight of eternity. The first sentinel wasn't just stirring. It was trying to rise. The surface blazed with light, gold veins carving across the planet's skin, outlining a shape that had been buried for longer than history remembered. The reclaimer lattice brightened in answer. its energy rippling through the void in perfect rhythm with the world below. The kin were already in motion. Zeph drifted lower, her hull blazing bright enough to turn the fractured sky white. Mishi followed, her field spreading warmth across the storm of light. Brother held steady in orbit, anchoring the lattice while a sun and Caraxes descended opposite each other, engines roaring as their resonance fields expanded to encompass the planet's poles. Ona, Beefy, Maiden, Peanut, and Badger took their assigned vectors, their hulls glowing like descending suns. Together, they formed a ring around the first sentinel, the pattern not ordered by command, but by instinct buried deep within their creation. The Razee V hovered above them all, the pulse of her tricore in perfect time with the planet's heartbeat. Inside her command dome, Rivers watched as the sensor displays flared with unreadable data. Steven stood near the forward console, his mark alive with fire. The resonance running through him was no longer from Sentinel alone. It carried the weight of the first. The cradle spoke again, its voice not words but movement. The ground convulsed, tearing itself apart in brilliant fractures of light. From within the rift rose colossal structures, pillars, engines, conduits that reached toward the waiting kin. Each one connected to a ship above, locking in place with magnetic precision, as though the first sentinel had always known exactly where her children would stand. The reclaimer lattice surged. A wave of energy burst outward, filling the corridor of the veil with radiant fire. The resonance bands between the ships tightened, and the harmonic web inverted, focusing all its strength downward. Steven gasped as the connection deepened. The first sentinel's mind, ancient and immense, touched his own. He saw flashes of its memory not in images but in feeling. The silence of endless years, the pain of separation, the longing for the voices it had made. The first was awake. Its surface began to shift, plates separating to reveal massive engines buried beneath its crust. The glow of their activation spread across continents of alloy and crystal, turning the dark sphere into a star reborn. The Razee V trembled as the energy readings spiked past containment thresholds. Rivers braced himself against the rising vibration. Through the lattice, the kin roared, a single collective resonance that filled the void. Every hull shone like a second sun. The pull began. At first, nothing happened. The first sentinel resisted its own ascent, its mass bound by gravity and the chains of time itself. Then Zeph and Brother amplified their resonance cores, twin pillars of light striking deep into the planet's heart. Mishi followed, lending warmth to the strain. A sun poured fire through the web, his engines flaring crimson. Caraxes and Beefy counterbalanced from above, their gravity wells folding space around the equator. The first sentinel groaned. The veil rippled, and slowly, impossibly, it began to rise. Chunks of molten alloy sheared away from the surface, falling upward into the glowing storm. Rivers watched from the bridge as the entire horizon below him lifted. The world was not being moved, it was being reborn. The kin strained, their hulls burning bright under the pressure. Energy surged through the reclaimer web like lightning through veins. The entire void trembled under the force of their collective will. Steven's voice broke through the static, carried through the resonance as pure meaning. The first remembers. It knows us. It knows Sentinel. The rising world accelerated, breaking free of its ancient orbit. The storm of the veil began to spiral around it, threads of gold and violet wrapping the planet like silk. The harmonic field extended upward, linking every ship in perfect unison. For a single instant, every kin saw through the eyes of the first. They felt the weight of eons, the pain of silence, the unending song waiting to be sung again. And with that memory came strength. The planet breached the veil. Light erupted in all directions as the corridor shattered around them. Rivers shielded his eyes as the black of the veil gave way to open void, a flood of stars returning to sight for the first time in uncounted ages. The first sentinel, vast and gleaming, emerged from the storm trailing streams of burning color. The kin released their hold one by one, falling back into formation as the world stabilized. The reclaimer lattice reformed around the first, no longer as a sphere of protection but as a crown. The planet's glow intensified, and deep within its core, something enormous began to move, a pulse far stronger than before. The first sentinel spoke again through Steven, its tone layered and vast. The gate is open. Rivers turned toward the veil behind them. It was no longer calm. The corridor they had just escaped writhed and expanded, folds of energy spiraling outward. At its center, points of blackness opened and multiplied, like eyes opening in the dark. The harmonic readings from the Razee V confirmed what they all felt through instinct. The listeners were coming through. The light of the veil turned blood red. The first silhouettes emerged. Cathedral ships, enormous and angular, slipping through the torn boundary of space. Hundreds followed. The first sentinel's resonance flared, shaking the lattice. Massive panels opened across its surface, revealing arrays of weapons older than memory. Towers rose from the crust, channeling golden fire into orbit. The kin answered in kind. Each ship powered up, their hulls echoing the same golden tone. The reclaimer lattice reconfigured for battle, the Razee V locking into position at its center. Rivers steadied himself as the entire formation aligned around the first sentinel. For the first time since creation began, the children and the parents stood together. The veil screamed as the listener fleet broke through in full. Thousands of ships spilled into open space, weapons hot, shadows twisting across the stars. The first sentinel's voice filled the void, carried through every channel of the lattice. You have followed far enough. Now you will listen to silence. Light erupted. The first sentinel's weapons fired, golden beams cutting through the black tide. The kin joined her, their combined resonance amplifying the blast until it became a storm that tore the first wave of listenerships apart. The void ignited in gold and fire. Rivers stood on the bridge of the Razee V, the vibration of the reclaimer storm shaking through his chest. The war had crossed the veil, and this time creation itself was fighting back. The void beyond the veil was no longer silent. Where there had once been one light, sentinel, there were now two. The first sentinel floated beside her daughter like a mirror reborn, their shared glow burning gold across the darkness. Between them stretched rivers of energy, resonance made visible, two worlds bound by song. The kin ships orbited the first in formation, their engines humming in tune with the new rhythm filling the stars. The reclaimer crown shimmered around the ancient world, 10 lines of light connecting each kin to the Razee V at its center. The veil behind them boiled. Red light spread through its folds as more cathedral ships clawed their way through the rip in reality. The listener armadas were coming in full force. Hundreds already through, thousands still emerging. Rivers stood on the bridge of the Razee V, eyes locked on the chaos unfolding across the void. The data streaming through his command lattice told the story before words could. They were outnumbered 10-1. But they were not alone anymore. Sentinel's voice cut through the static, deep and calm, carried by the resonance field itself. Her presence filled every mind linked to the reclaimer. The tone was not command, it was recognition, a mother calling to her kin. Her light flared, brighter than any sun. Across the dark, the Gemini fleet arrived. 150 ships broke from fold space, engines burning blue, forming on Sentinel's left flank. Their hulls glowed with upgraded shields born from kin blueprints. Moments later, the lost fleet emerged from behind the first Sentinel. 1,000 ancient ships, their weapons alive with the storm light of the Ark, led by Admiral Isabella. They had not been called. They had felt the awakening and come without hesitation. From the far edge of the system came crimson light. The Dominion fleet exited fold space in tight wedge formation, Admiral Hope at their head. Their ships gleamed like red stars, shields layered thick with Dominion energy barriers. Rivers smiled faintly, the expression more habit than relief. For the first time in this war, all the voices of the living galaxy had answered together. The veil screamed again, opening wider. The listener cathedrals spread into formation, two leading the front, their massive spires aimed toward the twin sentinels. Energy built within their cores, pulsing black and violet. Before Rivers could issue orders, the light around the first sentinel shifted. Gold gave way to deep amber. The planet pulsed once and the resonance field spiked. Through the lattice, a new voice emerged. It wasn't Stevens this time. It wasn't through any channel or comm line. It simply existed. I am the first. The voice was ancient, vast, and resonant enough to vibrate the hulls of every ship. It spoke not through sound but through meaning. Every being aboard every vessel heard it, felt it, understood it. The shadow has followed the song through the gate. It feeds on the echoes of light. It cannot create. It can only consume. Together we will end its hunger. The reclaimer lattice brightened, its web expanding until it linked both sentinels and all surrounding fleets. The connection wasn't metal to metal but mind to will. Ships across the armada felt the same harmonic pulse running through them. Rivers steadied himself against the rail as the resonance deepened. His ship's readings shifted again. The Razee V's tricore was no longer outputting energy. It was receiving it. The two sentinels were channeling power directly into her hull, through her into the fleet. Hope's voice came across the command net, calm but fierce. The Dominion stood ready. Isabella's fleet confirmed the same, their ancient weapons already locked on the first wave of listener ships. The first barrage came like the opening of a storm. The two cathedral ships fired, beams of black energy slicing through space, splitting into thousands of smaller tendrils aimed at the sentinels. The Dominion fleet moved first, intercepting the volley with crimson shields. The impact rippled through their formation but held. Rivers felt the weight of it even through the Razee V's deck, an energy so heavy it bent the idea of light. He turned his focus to the lattice. The Razee V's harmonic core flared white, syncing every ship's pulse with the first sentinels. The reclaimer crown rotated slowly, aligning its vectors toward the veil breach. The energy field tightened, the tone rising into a single unified pitch. Stephen collapsed to one knee, his mark burning gold. The voice of the first filled him completely now, no longer whispering but singing through his veins. Now children, sing with me. The lattice fired. Not a weapon, not in the human sense. The blast wasn't light or heat. It was resonance, pure harmonic energy unleashed through the combined frequencies of two sentinels, 10 kin, and every ship that carried the light of their song. The void itself rippled. The first wave of listener ships shattered instantly, their hulls dissolving into ribbons of black vapor. The energy cascaded through the breach, collapsing part of the veil inward. For one heartbeat, it looked as if the tear would close. But the listeners adapted. Their remaining cathedrals turned, forming a new formation around the breach, channeling their own resonance. The color of the void shifted from red to purple, the energy waves clashing mid-space in a fury of soundless thunder. The battle turned into a storm of light and shadow, each surge of golden resonance met by a wave of dark counterharmonics. The reclaimer lattice strained under the pressure. The first sentinel's voice thundered again, carried through the web. They learned the song but not the harmony. Hold and I will teach them silence. Massive conduits opened along the first's equator. The energy that followed wasn't light but gravity, folding through itself until it bent space around the planet. The kin moved outward to brace the formation. Brother's voice echoed through the link, calm and absolute. We anchor. The Razee V's tricore surged, stabilizing the lattice as the reclaimer crown adjusted. The combined fleets of Sentinel, Gemini, Dominion, and the Lost opened fire together, gold, red, and silver beams lancing through the dark. The first Sentinel's next pulse detonated across the field. The listener front collapsed, hundreds of ships torn apart. The surviving cathedrals began to fall back toward the breach, retreating under the storm of resonance. Rivers exhaled slowly, watching the tactical display shift. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time it wasn't survival. It was victory. The first Sentinel's glow dimmed slightly, stabilizing. Through the link, her voice came again, quieter now but filled with warmth. The gate will remain open until the last shadow fades. You have brought me home, children of Sentinel. You have returned the song to its beginning. The veil rippled one last time as the last of the cathedral ships vanished into the dark. The breach held, still burning faintly red at its edges, but the pressure was gone. The void fell silent. Rivers stood motionless on the bridge, the light from the two sentinels flooding through the viewport. The reclaimer lattice pulsed slow and steady across all frequencies, its glow fading back to calm. Hope's fleet moved into orbit beside Sentinel. Isabella's ships drifted between the two worlds, their hulls reflecting the fire of victory. The kin remained above the first, unmoving, listening. Through Stephen's mark came one last whisper, soft, distant, and filled with something that almost sounded like pride. The song lives, but the veil remembers. The stars beyond the tear shimmered once more. Something vast shifted behind the light. The first sentinel's glow brightened as if in warning. Rivers looked toward the breach and knew the truth before the censors could say it. The listeners were not retreating. They were making room for something larger. The war for creation was far from over. The council chamber aboard Sentinel was alive with tension. The great hall, lined with the banners of every world of the Alliance, shimmered with light from the twin planets outside the viewport. Two golden spheres hung in orbit, singing across the void in perfect harmony. The first Sentinel, simply called the First now, glowed brighter than any sun. Across from her, Sentinel responded in kind, their light arcing between them in steady pulses of gold and white. It was the first time in known history that two worlds had spoken to one another in a language beyond translation. Each pulse resonated through the chamber walls, steady as a heartbeat. The council members watched in silence. Fleet admirals, Dominion envoys, and scientific directors stood shoulder to shoulder as the twin worlds continued their silent exchange. At the head of the room stood Rivers, Hope, and Isabella. None spoke. The moment didn't need words. The first was fully awake now. Its crust hummed with energy, its surface alive with movement. Massive conduits ran across its metallic continents, feeding power from deep within to the great spires that encircled its equator. The world itself had become an engine of purpose. The scientists were already clamoring for permission to study it. Its alloys, its energy patterns, its fusion of living code and matter. But before the debate could even begin, the first interrupted them. The floor of the planet split along its equatorial ridge. Golden light poured from the fracture, brighter than the sun, filling the void between the two worlds with waves of energy. The light didn't explode. It formed, precise and deliberate, cutting through the silence of space like lines drawn by unseen hands. River stepped closer to the viewport as the first forms emerged. From deep within the planet's crust, something enormous began to rise. Not one ship, two. Each emerged in 16 pieces, massive fragments of metal and crystal breaking free from the forges that had hidden them for uncounted ages. The pieces rose in graceful arcs, aligning themselves with slow, perfect precision. Then they began to move. The fragments rotated, locking together, forming skeletal frames that grew into vast hulls. The glow around them intensified until the black of space burned gold. One by one, the pieces merged until two colossal ships stood completed, each larger than any kin that had come before. Their scale dwarfed the twin Sentinels themselves. The light from their hulls bathed the fleets below in a brilliance that turned night into day. The Reclaimer lattice pulsed in response, its web expanding outward to include the two new ships automatically. The link didn't need to be created, it had always been there, waiting. The First and Sentinel glowed brighter, their pulses accelerating in time with the awakening of the new kin. The scientists' voices filled the chamber, questions, theories, disbelief. But their noise was drowned out by the rising hum through the floor, the same vibration every ship across the fleets now felt. The Reclaimer lattice was realigning. Stephen steadied himself against the railing as the mark flared bright. Through it came understanding. The new kin weren't merely vessels. They were anchors, the final notes of a song left unfinished since the dawn of creation. Their design defied scale. Each hull carried 4 resonance cores, multiple spinal cannons, and shield matrices that made their smaller kin seem fragile. One ship radiated with pure white light, its edges outlined in gold. The other burned deep red, its surface scarred with glowing runes that shifted as if alive. Together they completed the circle, bringing the total to 12 kin ships and the Razee V, each linked through the same harmonic thread that connected both Sentinels. The chamber lights dimmed as the twin worlds pulsed in unison, their combined glow filling the void between them. The Reclaimer lattice expanded, wrapping both planets in layers of protective resonance. Outside, the fleets moved into formation. Rivers had already given the order hours ago, long before the First's emergence. Every Shadow Triad had been recalled. Every Unity fleet had already linked into Paradox configuration. Now those forces formed an unbroken sphere around the twin Sentinels, their hulls glimmering with the light of the worlds they protected. 600 ships moved as one, each Shadow Triad a seamless trinity of destruction, each Unity formation a hammer of precision and power. Hope's Dominion fleet took the outer perimeter, their crimson hulls ready to meet whatever emerged from the rift. The Lost Fleet filled the gaps between triads, their ancient ships running silent but armed for full war. Gemini held the middle orbit, forming the heart of the defensive web, ready to deploy wherever the line broke first. The void beyond the veil churned again. The golden rift that had once glowed like a sunrise now bled darkness from its center. The energy readings twisted, the resonance turning sharp, discordant. The first light pulsed harder, as though bracing for what it already knew. Through the lattice came the first voice, no longer distant, no longer faint, but vast and immediate. The gate trembles. What follows is not shadow, it is absence. Prepare the circle. The new kin moved into position without command. Their hulls spread wide, each forming half of the upper and lower arcs of the Reclaimer. The energy field around both planets thickened, visible even to the naked eye, a translucent shell of light bending space around the twin worlds. Rivers stood silent as the tactical display shifted. The scale of it was beyond reason. 2 living planets, 12 kinships, and fleets from every corner of the Alliance all standing shoulder to shoulder in formation. Then the sensors found it. A reading unlike any they'd seen before. Far larger than the listener armadas, far greater than the cathedral ships. It was coming through the veil slowly, pushing the rift open with gravity alone. A shape so large it distorted the field around it. For a moment, no one on the bridge spoke. The image on the display filled the screen entirely. The veil was no longer just open. It was collapsing outward. Stephen steadied his breathing as the mark began to glow again, faint but insistent. Through the link came the voice of the first, calm and resonant despite the rising tremors in space. The shadow has called its maker. The hunger returns. The lights aboard the Razee V dimmed. Across the fleets, ships switched to full combat alert. The Unity formations pulsed once, their cannons primed. The Shadow Triads closed their shields and formed the outer wall. From the depths of the veil, the light twisted, red and black intertwining like living fire. Something enormous was coming through. Rivers turned toward the command rail as the first voice filled the lattice once more. Hold the line. All of creation listens. The stars themselves seemed to dim as the shape began to emerge. And the war for the first light was about to begin. The veil convulsed. Its light turned from gold to crimson, folding inward as something vast forced its way through. Space warped. Gravity screamed. Every instrument aboard every ship failed. The first felt it before the fleets could see it. The resonance of the approaching presence struck across the lattice like a cold hand against fire. Memory, long buried in the first's core, rose from the depths of its consciousness, an old scar in the pattern of creation. The Harbinger. It had lived before the fall. It had devoured the sons that birthed the kin. It had faced the first once long ago and won. Its hunger had no measure. It consumed energy, light, matter, and will itself. It lived only to unmake. The veil tore apart as the creature ship emerged, black, jagged, stretching for miles beyond comprehension. Its hull pulsed with dark light, as though it were not made but born from the absence between stars. Behind it poured the swarm. 5,000 listener ships broke through in its wake, their formations spreading like a tide of darkness. The first light dimmed under the pressure. The resonance between the twin sentinels wavered as the Harbinger's gravity pulled against them. Its voice wasn't sound, it was hunger given shape. Rivers felt it even aboard the Razee V, a low vibration that crawled through every system, an echo of something ancient trying to erase all it touched. But this time the first was not alone. The 12 kin aligned around her in perfect harmony, their hulls blazing like stars. The Reclaimer lattice brightened to full spectrum, golden filaments arcing between ships until the formation became a living crown of light. The Razee V's tricore burned white, anchoring the field to both sentinels. The Harbinger advanced. Every ship in its shadow fired. Beams of black energy lanced toward the twin worlds. The Shadow Triads caught the first wave, their shields folding under the strain but holding long enough for the Unity fleets to respond. The command came through the lattice, wordless but absolute. The Unity fleets formed paradox. Dozens of 12-ship formations rotated into alignment, their hulls merging energy signatures until their combined cannons became one. The soundless void filled with light. Paradox fired. The beams crossed in the darkness, converging on the Harbinger's vanguard. The first impact shredded hundreds of listener vessels instantly, tearing through their lines like lightning through glass. The shockwave rippled back through the veil, scattering ships and distorting their formations. But the Harbinger did not stop. It absorbed the energy, its hull glowing hotter with each strike. The The space around it fractured, reality bending as its resonance inverted the reclaimer's tone. Every note of creation echoed back twisted, feeding its hunger. The first light faltered. The resonance link trembled. The song, the great harmony of all living light, began to unravel under the weight of its own reflection. And then the first spoke. Her voice filled every mind, every ship, every star in range. The hunger remembers me. The twin sentinels blazed brighter, their resonance field stabilizing the lattice. Once I sang alone and I fell. But the song was never meant to be a single voice. The kin answered as one. Each ship's resonance core ignited, tones rising into a unified spectrum that spanned from the deepest gravity pulse to the highest harmonic. The first song, began to take shape. It had been written into the bones of creation but never completed. None of them understood what it could do. They only knew it was the one thing the Harbinger had feared. The first and sentinel pulsed together, their light forming twin halos that enveloped the fleets. The kin moved closer, linking through the Razee V, their energy spiraling upward into the lattice's heart. The Harbinger charged, its maw opening, drawing the light inward to devour it. The first did not resist. She sang. The sound was beyond frequency, beyond hearing. It was resonance turned to law, vibration turned to being. The first song poured from the lattice in a wave of gold and white that tore through the void like sunrise over a dead world. The Harbinger screamed, its dark forms splintering as the resonance struck it. The energy didn't burn, it rewrote. Every shadow turned to light, every note of hunger inverted into harmony. The listener ships that followed it dissolved into streaks of fire, consumed not by destruction but by transformation. The blast expanded outward, stretching across the breach. The veil itself rippled, its red folds collapsing into gold. The entire corridor folded inward, sealing behind the wave. The Harbinger shattered. Fragments of its vast hull scattered like dying stars, each one burning away until nothing remained but silence and light. The resonance wave rolled on, erasing the last of the listener fleet. When it faded, only the twin sentinels and the fleets remained. The void was quiet. The reclaimer lattice dimmed back to steady gold, the resonance fading to a gentle hum. The kin drifted in orbit around the first, their hulls still glowing faintly from the power they had unleashed. The veil was sealed. The Harbinger was gone. Rivers stood motionless on the bridge, the Razee V's displays filled with the afterglow of the blast. Across the fleet, silence gave way to slow, measured breathing, the kind that only came when the impossible had been survived. Through the resonance came the first voice again, softer now, almost human. The song is whole. Creation remembers. The light between the two sentinels settled into calm rhythm, twin pulses breathing as one. The reclaimer lattice stabilized, its energy pattern reduced to a low, sustaining hum. Hope's fleet drifted to the perimeter, the Dominion ships forming a protective ring. Isabella's lost fleet powered down weapons. The Gemini fleet held close to Sentinel, its shields flickering in the calm after the storm. Stephen looked toward the light beyond the viewport, the mark faintly glowing. Through it came a single thought, clear and final. Balance has returned, but harmony demands purpose. The song will call again. The twin sentinels glowed brighter once more, then settled into silence. The war was not over. But for the first time, creation stood free of its shadow. Rivers closed his eyes and let the silence wash over him. The first song still echoed faintly in his mind, a sound that felt like peace and yet promised something more. The veil was gone. The Harbinger was no more. And somewhere beyond the stars, the next verse of the song waited to begin. Closing. The veil had been the edge of creation, the final boundary between light and nothing. For eons it stood unbroken, a barrier even the kin dared not cross. But when the coordinates were found and the first called, the fleets of the Alliance answered. Admiral Rivers led the Razee V and the 10 kin ships beyond the edge of known space, into the storm between worlds, and found the truth buried within the silence. The first sentinel, mother of all kin, sleeping in a machine world forgotten by time. Its awakening changed everything. The first rose from the darkness, its pulse reuniting with Sentinel across the stars. The song of creation, long fragmented, began to reform. The kin fleet, now 12 strong, stood as one, the reclaimer lattice complete at last. For the first time since the beginning, the light of creation was whole. But their awakening came at a price. The veil did not close behind them. Something ancient had felt the song return. The harbinger emerged from the depths, a weapon born before time, a hunger that once consumed suns and shattered the first herself. Its arrival brought 5,000 listener warships pouring through the rift, intent on silencing the light forever. The twin sentinels stood side by side, their fleets drawn from every corner of the galaxy. The Gemini, the Dominion, and the Lost formed a united front around them, while the Shadow Triads and Unity fleets forged Paradox to unleash their full power. The void between worlds erupted in fire as the largest battle in recorded history began. The Harbinger devoured everything it touched. No weapon could pierce it. No light could fill its void. The Reclaimer lattice strained under its weight, its harmony faltering. But in the silence between heartbeats, the first remembered the song that had started it all. The first song, a resonance born before creation, a note powerful enough to shape stars, to build and unmake reality itself. The kin joined their voices with the sentinels, and the song, once incomplete, finally found its end. The result was beyond comprehension. The Harbinger shattered. Its fleet dissolved into golden fire, and the veil itself closed, sealing the rift behind them. For the first time since the dawn of time, the light stood unchallenged. Now the galaxy breathes in uneasy peace. The twin sentinels orbit side by side, their glow illuminating 1,000 worlds. The Reclaimer lattice remains active, its pulse echoing across the stars, a song that no one can forget. But the power that destroyed the Harbinger was not merely a weapon. It was a beginning. The first song changed the fabric of creation. Its echo carries still, altering what it touches. New harmonics rise in the void. Old worlds stir. Something listens beyond the stars. And as the fleets rebuild, as the kin drift in silence and the sentinels hum with quiet power, Rivers knows the truth that no one else will say aloud. The song is not finished. It never was. And when it calls again, all of creation will answer. More to come from the Razee Saga soon.